Hi. I am going to add somebody to this video as soon as she comes on. I'll try this. So I wanted to talk today about the gut and pregnancy because I seriously feel like I'm multitasking right now. If I had had these products during pregnancy, I just know. Oh, good. She's here. Okay. I don't know how to add you. I just tried to add you, Nicole. There. Okay. Here, let me see if I can. There we go. Approved. Connecting. Hi.
There we are.
Hi.
Hi. It took a minute for me to be able to see. Can you hear me?
I can. So I was just saying that I have not had a pregnancy with Plexus, and I really wish I had because my babies had issues. My second one was the worst, and I had no idea there was a connection. And I really, truly feel like if I had had my gut microbiome in order, that my kids would not have suffered so much. And we're still struggling with like keeping everything in line with their gut microbiome right now. And I feel like if we'd gotten it squared away early, this would have never happened. And so that's why I share. So I'm super passionate about this, and I want moms to know about how safe it is during pregnancy, how important it is. Not only is it safe, but it's essential. And I have a great video that I did with Jessica Wagner, the pediatrician on our team, and I'll send it to you too if you want to share it with people. But she talks about in the video, not only is it safe, but it's essential that you do this during pregnancy to keep your gut healthy. And so since you had a healthy Plexus pregnancy, number 4, and then 3 before that, I'd love to hear your perspective on pregnancy with Plexus and the importance of it and how you've personally felt better and then your kids were healthier. So all of that.
Right. Well, it's funny. I love that you say that it's not just like important, it's essential because for me, I feel like as moms, not even talking about like the baby's health, talking about the mom's health,
Right.
we are giving everything to our children. And you
Yes.
see a lot of moms that after their first or second pregnancy, they start just like
Yes.
going downhill.
That's a good
They're
point.
exhausted, they're
Yes.
fatigued, and I swear their body is just like to the baby, and it's just sucking the life out of them.
Right. No, that makes so much sense. God designed it for the reason, right, to give our babies what they need, even if we aren't supplemented. But you're right. That's why the minerals get sucked out of our teeth and we have cavities and, like you said, fatigue. That's a great point you make.
You see the moms that struggle with so many health things after childbirth, and I really think it's just mineral depletion. Like, we know through studies that when you are deficient in certain B vitamins and things like that, it can unlock certain genes. So you can actually start expressing genes that you've never expressed before because your body is deficient. And so for me, that's kind of what happened for me. Like, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease, but I didn't even know I had Lyme disease until after I had gone through a few pregnancies.
Right.
Because my body suddenly was deficient in so many things and my immune system became weak. And so it's really interesting, but that's not even really what I wanted to talk or share about today.
Let me say something really quick. You by saying that, you just and we talked just a minute ago about how some doctors don't like you to supplement at all. The baby that had I had the worst trouble with her gut and with her health so far has been the baby that I had a wonderful doctor. I mean, I love him. He saved her life. I needed progesterone and he helped me to keep her, but he did not believe in any supplementation at all. None, because he was afraid of the vitamin A situation. And so that makes a lot of sense though when you say that we had more problems after that pregnancy, because I was a little bit, I was living in fear a little bit, like, well, I mean, I've done my research. I feel like I should be supplementing, but should I trust the doctor and what should I do? And that's a good point. Thank you for making that point.
Well, and it's interesting because like I love doctors and they have their purpose, but like my doctor, I love him. He's amazing. I would recommend him to anyone, but he is more on the lines of, well, I don't know if, just don't do it just to be safe.
Right.
But yet he'll prescribe me Prilosec my whole pregnancy.
Right.
Because I had raging heartburn.
Right.
And so he's okay with doing prescriptions, things like that, but he's not okay with me doing essential oils or maybe more natural things because he just doesn't know.
Right.
And so a lot of times doctors, like, they're just to be safe, they just will be like, well, I don't know, just don't do anything.
Right.
And I don't agree with that. I've done it the doctor's way and I've done it my way. And I can tell you from firsthand, I've had 3 pregnancies where I did it the doctor's way and where I was just struggling and suffering. And then I did Plexus and supplemented my whole pregnancy. And it was incredible. Like my first pregnancy where I didn't have heartburn. You guys, I normally couldn't sleep at night because the heartburn was just like killing me. Like I was just like, oh, I can't lay down. And normally have super achy hips, normally have so much bloating and gut pain, and I can't poop like
No, you're
when
not
I'm
the only
pregnant.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And just so off. And I get on these supplements because actually normally I can't go to the bathroom, but then
Right.
on my fourth, I had switched, my IBS had switched from constipation the other way, and I was just so desperate for change. And so I got on these supplements as a last resort because I was having gallbladder pain, and my doctor was like, let's just do surgery, take your gallbladder out while you're pregnant. And
No.
really, it was just a last resort to try to like avoid
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
But like after years of struggling with gallbladder pain and IBS symptoms and all this stuff and inflammation, I get on the supplements, and I didn't even start it for the heartburn. And I was like, holy cow, like my heartburn's gone after a couple weeks. Like I don't have heartburn and I'm sleeping. Normally I don't sleep, and normally I have headaches, and I wasn't getting headaches, and I was going to the bathroom and regularly, not like swaying back and forth between the two, like regularly going to the bathroom. And my stomach, like, yeah, you know, you get that stretching pain
Yeah.
when you're pregnant where you're like stretching and your stomach feels tight, but then you add like bloating on top of it, and you literally are like, don't touch me, I can't move, I hurt.
Right.
Like I could tell my stomach was stretching, but it was different. I wasn't like in that horrible pain. And so it really like my pregnancy was night and day different from my first three. And it was just incredible. Like I slept like a baby. Like everyone's like, oh, I'm sure you're sleeping horrible and you just want that baby to come out. I'm like, I'm actually sleeping great. I did do some light yoga like my whole pregnancy, and so stretching and things like that I'm sure helped as well with my hips and the growing and the stretching and everything. But I didn't work out like strenuously or do anything too crazy, just super light, you know, towards the end, didn't do much, and I felt so good.
That's so
So
awesome. Did you have
yeah,
heartburn before, or was it just a pregnancy related symptom for you?
it was more pregnancy
Okay.
related.
I always wondered
I've
that.
never really gotten heartburn outside of pregnancy
Okay.
much at all. So yeah,
I hear about it a lot during
Just-
pregnancy, and always, you know, I love to recommend Plexus to people because I believe in it, but it feels like such a stretch sometimes with people who are pregnant because they're so afraid to try anything, you know, new.
mhm.
And you have to do the research and study it and know that it's safe. So, okay, let's
But
talk
these
about.
are crushed up plants. So
I
I'm like,
know.
it's funny to me when people will like, they literally will be like, I'll eat soda, I'll eat all
Right.
this stuff, I'll eat Twinkies, I'll eat all this stuff
Yes.
and not do any research on it. But then the
Yes.
second you're like introducing crushed up plants that are so healthy and everything your body needs, they're suddenly like, well, I better do the research.
Oh, I know.
And
Like,
to
I mean,
me,
aspartame
like
is like it's a neurotoxin. Like we drink Diet Coke or whatever. It's a neurotoxin. It's a chemical. It's dangerous. It's toxic, right?
right.
But yeah, but
So
I think
to me, that's always interesting because there
true.
is a lot of studies on the fact that our body is just pumping out nutrients to our baby, and we can become depleted, and that can
Right.
affect our bodies for years and years and years. Like your cells are constantly developing and growing and replacing themselves with new healthy cells. But if you're lacking nourishment, then
right.
those cells can actually become weak and damaged. And so I think about it too, is like we pass our gut microbiome to our babies. And
Yes.
if we do not have good gut microbiome, then we're passing not good microbiome.
Right.
Okay, so that's a really important part. And if you go and you learn about studies about when the baby passes through the vaginal canal, that they are picking up certain bacteria that are essential for their life forever. And you think about all the women that struggle with yeast infections and
Yes.
UTIs and
Yes.
vaginal infections, and they get like strep B and all those different things, and you're on antibiotics during your pregnancy just trying to suppress that. Well, that is suppressing, you know, your child's bacteria and their immune system for their life.
Right.
And so to me, it's really important that we prioritize this and we think about how it's going to affect our children.
So you probably took X Factor Plus. X Factor Plus is multivitamins because we talked about nourishment. So we need vitamins and minerals. And
I did not take, normally my prenatals always made me sick. And so
Okay.
I always did what the doctor recommended, or I just, you know, bought something at
Right.
Costco or whatever. Right. But, you know, I find out down the road that I actually have a gene mutation where I do not absorb synthetic vitamins. And so
Right.
it makes sense now that like those, if you're taking synthetic vitamins in and your body doesn't know how to use them, it actually
Right.
can build up and make you feel sicker.
Right.
And so it wasn't really doing anything for my body. And so this pregnancy I actually did X Factor Original until I was 6 months along. And then I did the X Factor Plus, as well as an
Okay.
Omega. I did an Omega. And at the time I actually didn't do the Plexus Omega because I had already bought a fish oil that was
Oh
filtered
yeah.
for specifically for mercury and it was an expensive one and I already had it.
Okay.
And so at the time I didn't use ours, but I love our Omega as well.
I do too. I do too. I love it too. Yeah, and I recommend that for moms too, because we all know about brain health and how important it is for our fetuses and then for our babies after they're born too. So while we're nursing, to make sure they have the omegas. Sure. So X Factor Plus, and then we have omegas, and then I was close to gestational diabetes with all my babies, and when I have read about how much sugar affects epigenetics and how sugar affects the genes, like you said, the genes that are manifested. Hey, you have to sit over here while I finish my video, okay? I just couldn't stop though. Like I could not stop myself from eating those foods. So I knew that was bad, right. And I knew I wanted to not eat sugar, but I did it anyway. So I can't help but wonder if I had the Slim that I drink every day that helps me with my sugar cravings now, would I have been able to control myself, and how would that have affected my children? So we know blood sugar balance
for sure.
Important. Yeah.
And you see so many moms that have, never struggled with or diabetes, and then all of a sudden they have gestational diabetes. Oh, yeah. And it's funny because I actually flunked 3 out of my 4 tests for gestational diabetes. Yeah. And I had to go in and take the 3-hour test. And my doctor's always been worried about my blood sugars being up and down. And it's so interesting because like before I ever had kids, I was a dancer, and I remember I would like black out in the halls if I hadn't eaten in a while. Like I would start to like get dizzy, and I would feel these big crashes, and I've always felt those big crashes. And which now I know that blood sugar is tied to like autoimmune, which I struggle with,
Right.
But the fact that I flunked, my gestational diabetes, he's okay, or she, I can't see who it is, but like honestly, I can't even hear them. They're okay. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that like my doctor had even talked to me about, well, maybe we need to dig a little deeper in your A1C levels and see, what's going on long term. And when I found Plexus, I just said, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do this. And I actually refused to do that.
Good.
And felt completely perfect and had a completely healthy pregnancy. But, a lot of times doctors will just resort to insulin even when you're pregnant, things like that. And I felt really strongly that I didn't want to take that path.
Right.
And my doctor supported me in that, even though that wasn't the way that he thinks. And I really appreciate that because, and I'm not saying it's bad to do that. If somebody feels that they should do that, I'm not saying that's bad, but I felt like for me, I just felt so incredible on the Slim that I stopped having those crashes.
I didn't know I had the same crashes, and I had to eat, every few hours, and my blood sugar would get low and I'd get like hangry or whatever, and my husband would make fun of me. And I thought that it was because I had like a really high metabolism. Like I thought it was like a good thing because I wasn't overweight.
Right.
So I thought it was due to that. I had no idea that my blood sugar was so bad. I mean, I could probably look at the signs, right? But we don't talk about blood sugar as much as we talk about gut health. Gut health has become
we think of blood sugar as diabetic.
Right.
People think, well, I don't have blood sugar problems because I'm not diabetic. But there's insulin resistance that is very different. Like there's different symptoms depending on your genetics. And so you can have like hypoglycemia or things like that are signs that you do have insulin resistance, and it can manifest differently than being a diabetic.
Right.
And
then, so we talked about blood sugar balance and nutrients that we need, and then gut health. So we pass along our gut health to our babies, which I did. And it's like, hashtag mom guilt, right? But we didn't know, and we don't know, we don't do as well. So if we know better, we do better. So now, tell me about postpartum, because I really feel like, the cradle cap and the thrush and all the things that we experienced that were yeast related, had I gotten rid of that earlier, right, and myself, and then in my babies, that wouldn't have been an issue for us. So talk to me about your postpartum life. And we needed to touch on mood as well, mood and anxiety for mom postpartum, and hormone balance postpartum as well.
Okay, I love that you're mentioning that because I totally would have forgotten to go over it. First of all, I want to start out by saying that right before I started Plexus, I went to my OB visit, and he said, "Oh, you have a yeast infection."
Okay.
It was one of the visit where he took, checked everything internally and did some swabbing and things like that. And he said, you have a yeast infection.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I know, I can tell things are off, but I didn't know I had like a full yeast infection. I was always very prone to vaginal infections and yeast infections. And so I had done stuff in the past, like over the counter for that before, and it just agitated me so bad, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so when I found out about Plexus and I knew that it addressed yeast, specifically, I thought, well, I'm just going to just try this and see. And I did it, and my yeast infection cleared up on its own. And so I thought that was incredible. But normally after I have a baby, I will struggle with yeast a lot.
Right.
And I didn't this time. I didn't have yeast infections after I delivered. I healed beautifully and didn't have, as much swelling and things like that, which I thought was incredible. And normally after delivery, I can't go to the bathroom for a long time.
Yeah,
And that's really
I know.
painful too when
No.
you have stitches or,
Yeah, you're not the only one.
anything like that.
That's common. Yeah.
But I have struggled with postpartum a lot, and anxiety, like really crippling anxiety after I have a baby, where I'm panicked the whole night that they're going to die and I can't sleep even if they're sleeping, and just a lot of I can't even explain to you like some of my thought processes, but like really, really challenging for me to sleep after I have a baby, and my anxiety becomes just crippling for me. And so being on the supplements, and I specifically added in Vital Biome after I had my baby.
Okay.
Because that's so important for anxiety. The strands that are in that probiotic are specific for anxiety and depression. And so I added that in. But I will be really vulnerable and honest. When you are not sleeping, you're gonna feel depressed. Like I remember hearing somebody say like depressed and then separate the words to deep rest.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, deep rest. Like if you're not having deep rest, then you're depressed.
That's true.
The nights where I struggled the most with sleep because my baby was keeping me up, the next day I would just feel down and, kind of have those blues.
Right?
Right. And weepy, but nothing compared to what I went through with my previous pregnancies.
Right.
I really felt like Plexus, like held me over, like kept me stronger than I was before, even though those first 2 months are still rough. In my opinion, it's just rough with a newborn, unless you are blessed with like this baby that just sleeps through the night instantly. My babies never did that. But
you're supported now. Like with Plexus, you're supported. And yeah, it's better.
For sure. And I never felt like I hit that really low anxiety ridden depression that I did in the past. And I felt like I was able to just gradually grow out of it, where in the past, like a year down the road, I was just struggling, right? Like with really bad depression. So it was a very different experience for me. And I definitely, like, I'm a lifer because it blessed my life so much, and it still does to today. And this is like a fraction of my story, you guys. Like I have struggled my whole marriage with my body, like my husband being like, oh, you're just always hurting, you're always this or that, like, and now I just feel stronger than ever. And so definitely, like, if you struggle with anxiety and depression, especially postpartum, like these supplements, I never would recommend that they are a cure-all and that's the only thing to do. I also worked a lot on my mindset as well, and if I knew I needed a nap, I took a nap, like you know what I mean? And I got out of my house and I went on a walk and things like that. And so I definitely think that there is balance in all things, but these supplements definitely help support me in a way that I never had in the past. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I know Brooke Hemingway talks about her last pregnancy as well, and how she was kind of desperate for breast milk and for no more postpartum depression or anxiety anymore. She just knew that she couldn't do it again. And probably the same thing, like it was her sixth baby, so she had been depleted and depleted and depleted. And I also think that the meds we take at the hospital affect our gut.
Just a minute.
So I also think the meds we take.
For sure.
So I think, because I always
and the epidural and everything else.
Yeah. So I always hear from women.
I didn't even. Okay, I'm on a call. Look, I'm on a call. Just a minute. Look, do you want to say hi? This is my third baby.
Hi.
When you touched on breast milk, with him, I had gone through my Lyme treatment right before him. And so think about, like, Lyme treatment, you're wiping out like all the bacteria in your body to try to get rid of the bad, but it also gets rid of the good, right? And With his pregnancy, I got pregnant 6 months after my Lyme treatment. I really, I did pretty well throughout my pregnancy because with autoimmune, your immune system kind of suppresses some of those things and whatnot, but still struggled with like the gas and the bloating and the heartburn, all that stuff. And then when I had him, I could not produce milk well. I couldn't. Like my body was at an all-time low after I had him, with anxiety and with exhaustion, just utter exhaustion. And I could not produce breast milk. I actually, we were struggling financially a lot, and I just could not fit formula into my life at the time. Like I was just like, I can't afford one more thing. And so I had actually reached out to a friend. My husband was out of town, and I was like, I have no milk for my baby. And she said, well, I have a freezer full of breast milk. Will you use it? And it made me so nervous to use someone else's breast milk. But I supplemented my whole postpartum with her breast milk because my body was just too weak to produce enough. And it was amazing and incredible that she was willing to pump for me and give me her breast milk. But it was just interesting because he's the one I nursed the least amount because I just dried up and I just lost my breast milk and just stopped. And then you fast forward, 2 years later to my pregnancy with the triplex, and my milk was incredible. My whole time nursing my baby, he's actually my longest nurser. I just weaned him about a month ago, and he is 16 months. I never nursed a baby past 1 year. And that's because my milk was great and I had the energy to do so. And one more thing to touch on, in the past, I don't know if any other mom has ever dealt with this, but in the past, every time the baby would latch on, I would get feelings of anxiety and depression as my milk let down.
Right.
I don't know if anyone else has ever struggled with that, but
because
it was like this dip.
Your oxytocin releases at that point. So it's supposed to be a feel-good hormone, but if your hormones are out of balance, I suppose,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is. Because
I would tell my husband, like, oh, it's so weird. Like, I get this sadness. Yeah. The first 3 minutes of nursing, it was like heavy sadness.
Interesting.
And with my fourth baby, that was the only one I never got that on. Isn't that interesting? Like,
it is.
My body just felt so good. Like nursing, I was like, it's great. I feel good. I don't dread it like I used to. And I haven't really talked about that a lot with women. I kind of thought I was just unique and nobody else struggled with that. But if anybody struggles with that specifically, then just know that there's a better way, right?
Hang on one second. Hey, will you take her, please? Okay, go on, Dad. Okay, Daddy just came home. Okay, so
that's okay. I mean, that's mostly, I don't know if we addressed everything, but those are probably the biggest shifts that I noticed.
Yeah, I wish I had had a chance to experience a pregnancy because I just really feel like it would have changed everything.
Well, it's never too late.
I know. I'm not that old, but I don't know. But I did. So my third, I used Plexus during nursing. And so I have experience with the Slim increasing my milk supply. So it did help with that. And then we got rid of our yeast in like 7 to 10 days. The thrush was gone. The cradle cap disappeared. All of those things. And that was when I really understood and I started to see and prove to myself, because, I was a skeptic. Like I tried the products and then I saw the benefits, but then I was like, could it really work that well? And sometimes I think some of us are skeptics and we have to see it, and we had to see it over and over, and we had to see like undeniable proof. So I saw his skin clear up, and then I stopped using it and I saw his skin break out, and he had like patches. I had pictures of him, like patches of, something was bothering him, right? His gut was out of balance. Right. And so I started taking Probio 5 again and nursing him, and his skin cleared up within days, and I could tell the texture of his skin was different. So I knew it was working. Like I knew the gut skin connection. I was like, it was undeniable. So, I'm just fascinated with the pregnancy, the situation, and how much different, doing the research on epigenetics and sugar and blood sugar and gut health and nutrients and all of that. It's fascinating. Yeah. And you said you had hip pain. I had terrible hip pain. I'm curious about that. And I've heard about heartburn, so many symptoms that are just pregnancy related, like you said. And you mentioned like taking, medicine, over the counter or prescription medication to try to, suppress those symptoms. And we have fears about that as moms. What is that doing to our kids? And
I stressed out the whole time I was on Prilosec with my daughter. What is this going to do to her? Is this going to cause problems? because medications have side effects. And what I love about Plexus is it's so funny, you know, that so many people are worried to take it during their pregnancy, but I'm like, Plexus only has positive side effects. Like, yes, there can be some detox in the beginning if you struggle with a lot of yeast or things like that, but like a couple of weeks of detox is so worth it. So worth it, you know?
So worth it. In the long run. Yeah.
And talk about better skin. I mean, for all those moms that just struggle like with acne and hormonal acne, I have very sensitive skin. You can tell this is my natural hair color up here. I'm very blonde and fair, and my skin is very sensitive. And it's not always perfect on Plexus, not always, but it is far better than what it used to be. And I noticed even during the hormonal changes, it was a lot better than what it used to be. Okay. So that's been a game changer for me. Like talking about skin, talking about eczema. I used to get eczema on the back of my arms. All my babies always got eczema, and this baby didn't. You know, so interesting. And I think the biggest thing is I was so consistent with taking my supplements. I didn't miss a day. I was just so consistent at it, and that really gave my body the environment to thrive. And the time, like I struggled with a lot of detox personally because of my history with Lyme and autoimmune issues and things like that. But I pushed through that, and you know, months down the road, I'm still seeing that ripple effect now of nourishing my body in a way that I never have before. I've never been this consistent at nourishing my body, and it has really paid off. Like, really stick with it, really give it that time. If you're not getting the results you want within, you know, a month or 2 months, like really give it that time, because if you go and do the research on what you're doing to your body, it is incredible. Like really, really incredible the way that you're nourishing your body and feeding your body what it really needs. So
yeah, I did not go through bad detox, but I think it's because I did it really slowly. I actually did the gut portion first because I was stubborn and I didn't understand Slim really. I just hadn't been educated on Slim. Mm-hmm. And so it took me a while, and then I did the blood sugar portion. So I think part of that, you know, is why, but I didn't have very bad detox. But gosh, I mean, I forget now sometimes how bad I feel. I was telling my husband the other day, like I had a headache for the first time in a long time, and I was like, man, you know, imagine if I wasn't using these supplements, how many headaches I would have had between, you know, then and now. And he's like, you don't remember how you were, but I do. I'm like, oh my gosh, was it that bad? He was like, it was that bad. Like you were, and he filled in the blank, like your stomach hurt all the time, and you had headaches all the time, and your mood. He's like, your mood was terrible, and you know, when your cycle comes and you don't notice that your cycle has come, you recognize that you have balanced your hormones, and those hormones are important during pregnancy too, and after. I mean, when your hormones crash after pregnancy, after birth, like that's legit. No wonder we get depressed, right?
Well, and the thing is, like, our hormones are designed to go up and down. They're designed to change. So Plexus doesn't stop your hormones from changing. That is actually a very natural process that is supposed to take place when you're nursing. When you're pregnant in the beginning, your hormone levels are going up. When you're done nursing, your hormone levels are coming down. And I still noticed my hormones changing. I still felt those changes, but it was far different than experiencing it without the support of hormone balance. So and balanced blood sugar. So it's still there. It's still present. You still notice those changes going on, but it is far different.
It's not life-alteringly bad, so it's not affecting you in such a dramatic way. Yeah, it's the way it's supposed to be.
For sure.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your Lyme story too, and everything. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And helping us learn.
It was fun.
Thanks.
I know. I hope it helps somebody.
Yeah. I wish I was seeing you next week. I'm sorry you're not going to be there because you're in a different one. So I want to hear about your. I want to see.
I'm so sad.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I want to see.
I know.
All
yours is next week. Mine's like the week after.
Yeah.
So
I want to see all your pictures too. I'll be watching and living vicariously through yours.
For sure.
Yeah, hearing all about it.
I know. Yeah. I know. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, have fun. Thank you so much, and we'll have to do this again.
Yeah. I'll have to do mine. I have that same wall in my bedroom. Is that your master bedroom?
Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to do the next one in my master so we can have matching walls. It look like we're like in matching houses.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I know.
Apparently it's a Utah standard master bedroom finish.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Fun.
Bye, friends.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.